Hey everybody, Kevin Eikenberry here from my lovely hotel room in Omaha, Nebraska. Just spent a couple of great days with clients, and I just want to take a couple minutes this morning to talk to you about the question that I posed in this post, which is, how are you different than you were 6 months ago? Now you may say, well, I don't really know how different I am. I haven't really thought about it. So the first thing I want you to do is to think about that question. How am I different than I was 6 months ago? And maybe your last 6 months have been especially eventful, either positively or negatively, and so your experiences certainly can have an impact on that. But I think for most people, we don't really stop to think about that. We don't stop to think about how things are different for us now than they were 6 months ago. Specifically, how am I different? What has changed about me in that 6 months? So, in case you don't know me, I lead a company called the Kevin Eikenberry Group, and we help leaders around the world be more effective. And one of the ways that it takes for leaders to be better is they've got to be learning. So this question that I'm asking you is a reflective question. How am I different than I was 6 months ago is a critical question to ask. But if you're watching right now and if you're asking that question, you're saying, Kevin, I don't have an answer, or I don't like that answer that I do have, I don't want you to get worried, upset. I don't want you to feel guilty or shame and say, well, I haven't really been learning anything, Kevin. I don't really have a good answer to that, because we can't change the last 6 months, but we can change the next 6 months. So what I want to do is spend a few minutes thinking about how do we answer that question? What can we do today so that the next time we answer that question, 6 months from now, it's a different answer, okay? So we're going to talk about how to do that. And if you're already interested in what I'm talking about, you want to go sign up for my upcoming masterclass video series that you can, it's called The Journey to Remarkable Leadership, and you can find that at kevineikenberry.com/way, W-A-Y. Now, what I'm talking about in this short video is something that certainly it relates to us as leaders. And that's the business that I'm in. But as leaders, we're human beings. And in fact, as we become better leaders, we become better human beings, and vice versa. And so while I'm talking at one level for us as leaders, I'm also talking to you right now from the perspective of, as a human being, how am I different than I was 6 months ago? So let's talk about what we can do today so that our answer is different 6 months from now. What I'm talking about is how do we get more intentional about what we're doing and what we're learning along the way, so that at any point we can look back and say, man, I am different. I am more effective. I am better, if you will. I have more skills. I have more confidence, however you want to frame that. So let me give you a short little process to think about. The first thing is you got to decide what it is that you want to learn about. I already used the word intentional, and I think that's critical here. So intentionally, what do I want to do? What do I want to be better at? What skill do I want to build? I was just in a conversation with a client where we were talking about how their business is changing and all of the things that are happening there. So if I'm a leader in an organization where I know there's a lot of change going on, maybe the thing I want to focus on for the next few months very specifically is, how do I lead change better? Or how do I handle resistance that comes from my team members better or differently? Those are just a couple of examples of saying, let me get intentional about what I want to learn right now. I can tell you that in my reading and in my study and in my own learning growth, I have an intentional plan about what I want to be learning about at any given time. And I may be wanting to learn something about some particular part of our business. I may be wanting to learn something very particular about a specific process. Or because of what I'm going to be teaching, I'm on a learning path to learn more or get better at some skills or some knowledge that I want to share with others. So number one, decide what you want to do. Number two, get intentional about a plan. So how am I going to do that? So does that mean there's 5 books that I want to read? Does that mean there's some video that I want to watch? Does that mean there's someone that I want to follow on social media, or a podcast I want to watch? I don't. Does it mean that I need to find a mentor for a certain area? That's the kind of thing I'm asking you to think about. Once you've decided what it is you want to learn, then you want to get intentional about building a plan. And then, and only then, because right now you're saying, Kevin, that all sounds really rosy and wonderful, but I got a life to lead. I got all kinds of responsibilities. I got a team to lead. I got all this stuff going on in my life. I don't know how I'm going to carve this out. So if we take a 6-month horizon or even a 1-month horizon, I don't have to say, well, I'm going to invest 2 hours a day in reading to do this. Now you could, but that's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is, how do I take the learning goal that I have and the intentional plan that I want to build and do something every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day. You can carve out 10 or 15 minutes almost every day to build into your habits a way to get better. Now, listen, I am all about learning as a process and doing this a little bit at a time. And we do a lot of the things in our organization with our clients to do that. Again, you can learn more about our upcoming free video series at kevineikenberry.com/way, W-A-Y. It's called The Journey to Remarkable Leadership. I recorded it and it's fantastic. It's being released soon. I hope that you'll take advantage of that. So in terms of where do you find the resources? Well, there are a tremendous number of resources in the world today and whatever you want to learn. And if you're wanting to learn and get better at leadership, let me just recommend some of our resources. Whether that's my podcast, the Remarkable Leadership Podcast, whether that's the podcast of my colleague Guy Harris, the Talk Like a Leader podcast, and we'll get all those links here in the comments at some point. Whether that's my weekly video series called The Remarkable TV, where you can find that on my blog, you can find that on YouTube. Or whether it's books, or whether it's blog posts, whatever it is, we've tried to provide all sorts of ways to help you learn. And we're excited to be able to share that with you and honored that people do take advantage of those things. Of course, we're not the only person that you can follow, the only person that you can work with, but we'd certainly love for you to take advantage of some of those free resources along the way. And speaking of free resources, I'd like you to take advantage of our upcoming masterclass being released as a video series, not with me in this phone, but from our studio. And that can be found at kevineikenberry.com/way. You can get all signed up for it there. It'll tell you all about it there. If you have been excited about what I've just said, if you like the idea of learning a little bit at a time, if you like the idea of translating skills into habits, if that all makes sense to you, if your mindset says this has made sense to me, then you definitely want to join us for that video series. You're going to get very excited by it. kevineikenberry.com/way. All the information is right here in the links. So let me just close by saying this. The question is, how am I different than I was 6 months ago? It's a reflective question worth asking. But it's also a question to challenge us, and we urge ourselves to think about that differently moving forward. Meaning that if you don't like the answer, thinking back 6, you can change the answer 6 months from now. Even if you love the answer from the last 6 months, you can be intentional about your answer and what it would be 6 months from now, or 4 months from now, or 8 months from now. Ask the question, and then be intentional about what you want to learn and building a plan to do it and getting after it a little bit at a time every day. That's my thought for you today from beautiful Omaha. Have a great day. We'll talk to you all soon.